Hey geeks, Akshay Bhaskar this side, and welcome to another session of interview preparation strategies at Wipro. So today, the guest who we are inviting, his name is Subhrodip Mohanta, and he did his BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from University of Engineering and Management, Kolkata, and he is currently placed as a project engineer at Wipro. So it's my pleasure to invite him, and I'll ask some questions to him. Keep the session engaging. You can ask your questions after the once I ask my questions to the to Subhrodip, then you can ask your questions in the comments, and we'll pick few questions. All right. So without delaying any further, let me invite Subhrodip and let's start the session. Hi Subhrodip, how are you?
Hi Akshay. Thank you so much for having me here, Akshay.
My pleasure. Okay, my first obviously logical question would be that you introduce yourself to the audience and tell a bit about yourself.
Sure. So as Akshay has already introduced about my position and where I'm coming from. So currently my project in Wipro involves for an enterprise service bus. So it is for connecting different types of services that are based in the enterprise with each other so that they can talk to each other using different protocols and all. It is mainly a Java based project and we are currently using Red Hat Fuse for that as well. And I'm also overly enthusiastic about contributing to open source software, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. So how did you get to know about this Wipro job opening?
So I this Wipro job opening was currently coordinated by our placement coordinator at our college. So it was a campus placement, and it was pretty much conducted throughout the campus only for our university.
Okay, it was on campus basically. Okay. So how many rounds were there, Subhrodip? And how long did the interview process last? Like, did it take a month or so? Everything
So
included.
yeah, so pretty much the interview process was very short. It was in a very short tenure. It was for around 2 days. On the first
Okay.
day, we only had the aptitude interview, aptitude questions, where the online rounds, where it was based on an MCAT platform, and on that MCAT platform there were basically four sections. On that four sections, we had like general aptitude, logical reasoning, and quantitative analysis, along with five questions for debugging the problem and getting the right solution, which was very trivial, and
Hmm.
coding based questions. So this was pretty much it for the first round. And the second and the third round were first second round was the technical round, and the
Hmm.
third round was the HR round.
Okay. So let's briefly describe all the interview rounds for us, please.
Sure. So as I mentioned about the online rounds, it's pretty much the same format over there. What uh, what it was in the second round was that it was mostly a resume based round for me. It was differently varying from panel to panel that was there on the interview day. So my interview was purely based on my resume, and on my resumes I had some concepts written for databases and operating systems and networking, and I'm pretty much like very enthusiastic about networking and all. And so those questions were asked to me, and very basic coding questions. Those are mainly asked by service based company. Are that they have a very definite set of questions. So the questions that were asked to me were like give how to implement a stack using a queue. How can we write an efficient code for that? And that's like very simple. And for the HR round, it was like very general questions like whether I'm aware of the service agreement that Wipro has, and whether I'm like I'm very open to all the locations where Wipro are operating in. So that was pretty much it. And for the HR round, there was a special exception in my case where the panel for my interview was an online interview. So that was my first experience of having an online HR interview.
Okay. Great, great. Thank you, Supradeep. All right. So my next question to you is, when should one start preparing for the interview? And what was your strategic plan? Like, when did you start preparing? like on in a focused way, like dedicatedly. So
So
please tell us about that.
So nowadays, what I've seen is that people mostly start preparing for the interviews because they want to crack the internships and all. But here in my case, I was like pretty much interested in mostly the college fests and participating in those. So I have got delayed in the interview preparation a bit. So I started in my third year. So during my third year, I have started getting serious because my college was giving our batch and the previous batches as well a specialized training for cracking these interviews and the questions that are coming over there in the panels and all. So pretty much I got trained by the college as well, and I started learning, searching about questions from Geeks4Geeks about what are the code questions that are asked in the interview situation. So it's best to start as early as possible if you want to get started and get familiar with interviews, because interviews will be it's mostly a part where we are interacting with each other. That's all.
Yeah, that is true, man. That is true. And so, what all things from your past experience helped you in cracking the interview?
So what like from my past experience when I have given the interview, so one mistake that I made was that while I was telling or speaking to the person, I was not making an eye contact with that person while giving the answers or telling. So I discovered it very lately, like after getting out of the interview panel. I discovered like, okay, like what was my interview looking like. I didn't remember it because I was just looking here and there and what other people were saying in the room. So it was like a self realization that I had. So always make an eye contact, and when you are giving an answer, give a confident answer. And if you do not know something that the interviewer asks, politely say that you do not know that thing, and you will be very keen to like find it out and then tell the answer for sure. But never tell the interviewer wrong answer first and make them convinced that this is the right thing. It sets a very bad impression. And always keep the mindset when you're going for the interview is that like you are going to the interview room to get hired, and the interview is coming to you to hire you. So you both are collaborating on the same thing. So there are high chances for you to get hired if you keep that mindset and get to the room.
Yeah,
So like
true.
that's my go-to strategy for cracking the interviews for sure.
Okay, great, man. Thank you for that. So, internships and projects, these two are a big part of the resume. And so, what to keep in mind while opting for internships, and something about project ideas, like you can, tell what you did and what other ideas are there which somebody can, explore.
So nowadays, pretty much the while going for an internship is like it's harder than finding a job itself. So like there are a lot of there is a lot of competition for finding an internship in our Indian industry. So what you need to do is you need to stand out from the crowd to do something that everyone is not doing. So what I did was that it was pretty much in the early days where open sourcing was brought into the Indian students community and it was booming. So I took part in many open source projects, and helped me get exposure on how a real world software development works. And if you go to companies for looking for internships, like top tech startups like Zerodha and all, so they all ask for your open source contribution before you get to apply for the role. So always try to build projects or do contribution that makes an impact, in the sense like if you are doing some project that is just, let's say, a library management system or a hospital management system, like it's pretty much box standard. But if you are contributing to some project which is making an impact, let's say a database like MongoDB, or what can be a Postgres, whatever, like there are varied amounts of open source projects that are open for like contribution. So if when you do that, it sets an impression that okay, you have tried to learn that project, how it works. You have tried to set up the development environment and how each of the module works, and you've specialized in one of the module and learned how the internals of it is working and made a contribution to that. So it really makes an impact that okay, like this guy knows something, this guy or gal knows something. So they will definitely give you a shot. Okay, let's call that chap for the interview and then we can proceed further. So always try to make projects that is creating an impact, that is helping somebody to achieve something, not just like make library management or hotel management systems. And this will help you only to make you shine in your resume, and this will obviously help you get like you can talk about so many more things when you're talking about these projects when asked in the interview as well. And this was my like strategy to crack these things.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you. And so I can see so many comments, Subhrodip, and people are asking so many questions. So I think we can jump onto the section where we can take few questions, and we have with us like around 8 9 minutes, so we can take 4 5 questions, I guess. Great.
Sure thing.
So let's go through the comments once. So Aditya is saying he is also asking to see the comments, and he's saying that he has his Wipro technical interview, and I think it's scheduled recently, but his date is not coming. What should he do? I think like logically he should follow up with an HR. I mean, like
Correct.
uh, okay. Siddharth, we genuinely do not, advise to share their CTCs like this on platform, because it. I think it's not wise.
Like what I can say about this thing is that you can search it up in the like internet for sure, but there are two types of hiring that were going on in our campus. Was that for this Wipro interview, it was not through NLTH, that National Talent Hunt. It was an on-campus interview in the first place. So those who scored some percentile higher, like those who solved some coding questions and had a good aptitude marks, they were invited for another round of coding, where they were given two coding questions for 1.5 hours, and those who got through the what do I say, the assessment that was taken, they were offered a higher package, which is known as the Wipro Turbo package. So what I was being hired was for the Wipro Elite package. And there's another hiring for Wipro that goes on, which is known as Wipro Star package, and that is mainly for the tier A colleges that are hiring like BITS and IITs.
Okay, okay. So Prayag is asking, can you? Yeah, so sorry. Can you share roadmap to master DS algo?
So, like mastering DS algo for sure, like it's a very standard question to ask for sure. But like, there's a in Geeks for Geeks, there is like must do coding questions for interviews, which is like separated for each of the types of questions that are asked, like from dynamic programming to maximum minimum heaps to priority queues. So you can try and solve those questions to evaluate yourselves, and try to get started with lead code easy questions, and generally solve, like you can mark yourself like how good you're solving. And then if you're preparing for an interview, I wouldn't say to go to a competitive programming environment. You can pretty much also practice in interview bit as well, where they are they have each of the buckets separated in different sections. So a roadmap will be a very good roadmap will be to solve the medium type questions based on the topics that you are most weak on, and then focus on the types of interview questions that are asked on those topics, and try to solve it and evaluate yourself, like how good you are. And
Okay.
always in an interview fashion, you need to remember that everything is time constrained. So keep a measurement on how much time you're taking to solve each of the questions, and that will surely help you out.
So it's I think three four people are asking. Like Sai is asking, Prasad is asking, and Suraj is asking about CGPA. So how much CGPA is required for Wipro?
So CGPA that was required for Wipro was around 6.5, and based on that CGPA, the college, when there is an on-campus placement, it takes out the merit list, and all the eligible candidates only get to sit for the first rounds. So based on your CGPA, that is how the first shortlisting happens.
6.5. Okay. And Yogesh is asking, what does the company demand from freshers?
Like the company demands from freshers is that only the fundamentals that you have, like the standard things that you are learning in your subjects, like database management systems, operating systems, networks, and general questions about programming on how to solve very basic data structures. So these are the things that are asked in the interview. And if you are very focused and you know what your course is offering, I'm talking mostly about computer science engineering, then it is very easy to get into these like to ace these interviews in these companies. And if you're coming from, let's say, electrical triple E or mechanical engineering, I guess you need to brush like learn some concepts about it. But what they generally ask, what I've heard from my friends, is that like there are people who also ask questions based on your stream as well. So if you are okay, like if somebody is from mechanical engineering and they ask you about what is a Carnot cycle, explain me, you should be able to answer that as well. So that is what, like, you need to be very clear about your fundamentals and your course subjects.
Okay. There's some more questions coming up, so let's pick few of them. Any particular question you want to talk about?
Okay, so which programming language? Like which programming language, as Prayag is asking. So programming language isn't a barrier for anywhere. Like if you need to just master one programming language which you are good at, you don't need to learn like anything new or fancy that is coming up. You just need to know one programming language. And the most common programming language that is taught in universities is C and C++. And like every engineering guy has gone through the C fundamentals for sure in the first year. So if you're comfortable with that, that is fine. Nothing else is required. And some concepts about programming, like programming paradigm, is that OOPS paradigm. If you're familiar with OOPS concept, then it's a nice to have thing for you.
All right. So with the last question,
How should an EC student prepare for a Wipro placement? Like
I
as
mean,
as I pretty much mentioned, like EC subjects and CSE subjects, what I have, like in our state, like where NACOUT is the standard board of university for this curriculum, as well as it is like followed all throughout India. ECE and CSE are both the same. Like few of the subjects are like shuffled from each semester to this semester, and there are some extra core subjects in ECE that you need to learn, like signal theory and digital signal processing, all these things. So other than that, all the standard thing like databases and all are taught in ECE as well. So I don't think that you need to prepare anything like special as an being an ECE student. If you are good in your subject, that's all.
oh, all right. Thank you, Subhrodip, for taking time out for this, man. And
Thank you so much, Akshay, for
uh,
having me here.
and I wish you good luck in your career ahead. And
Thank you.
be at home, be safe, man.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Subhadeep.
Bye
Take care.
bye.
All right. Uh, that was it, guys. There's some few more questions which you couldn't take on due to time limitation, but you can always connect with Subhrodip on LinkedIn through his LinkedIn. There's a link in the YouTube description to go to his profile, and you can send him a connection and also add a question in the note. So you can always do that. And take care, guys. I know number of cases are less, but still, it's important that we maintain social distancing and stay at home and take care of ourselves and our loved ones. Take care, guys. Keep learning and keep growing. Use your time wisely. Akshay Bhaskar this side. Take care. Bye.